Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to continue with the Wolves of Beyond series by Kathryn Lasky. This is book 2. This is Shadow Wolf. So, if you didn't check out my first video on this lone wolf, check that out. Otherwise, this isn't going to make sense. You can also check the entire book series on Guardians of Gahul, which is part of this. It's the first book series I covered for Kathryn Lasky, which is like 17 videos. But moving on. So this is book 2, similar to book 1. This is close to about 300 pages. Late elementary, early middle school is its target audience, so to speak. So in this this book, Fallon, who is now an outcast to an extent, he's a gnar, as they say. They make stories by chewing on bones. They are pretty much the lowest rank you can get in a wolf pack. So he's now part of this pack rather than kind of being a lone wolf. And he interacts with, he's mentally, what is it? He's too strong-minded to really be this lower level, and he's too intelligent to be this lower level part of a wolf pack. All he has is a damaged paw, which he compensates for pretty well. So he doesn't have the personality for this. He was also a lone wolf for a while. He was raised by a bear. So a couple things happened. One, he becomes a gnar, and he meets this other gnar who's actually kind of nasty, and kind of acts too kind of sickly sweet and too submissive in the personality, which kind of, Fallon doesn't like him for good reason. But Fallon is, normally they are not part of the hunt. In fact, they basically, the food that they get is they chew on the basically leftover bones of everybody else. They are the bottom of the pack. So, but they make gnawing marks on these bones that tell a story. So, a couple things happen in this story. One, a wolf pup who is damaged, who's left to die, is actually murdered. They're not supposed to do that. The pup is supposed to die of natural causes, just kind of being abandoned. And Fallon doesn't do this. He does not interfere, because he would get in trouble. Not to mention, what the heck is a male wolf going to do with a pup? So, but he realizes it had been murdered, and eventually the owl that he befriended informs him that it had been murdered. But he pays honor to this baby's bones and basically to its body, which I'm not sure whether that's taboo or not, but the murder most certainly was. But he screws up by being interfering in a pack hunt, and he gets in trouble. And this is a major offense. But instead of just simply outcasting him, I can't remember what that she is. This is a wolf here. She's the seer and the healer almost of the wolf clans, because they are part of a pack that is part of a larger McDougal clan. I believe it's the McDougals. Double check this. Late books of Beyond. Here we go. Book 2. Yes. Fallon is going to give me the clan name here. No, we're just, yeah. I believe it's the McDougals is what he is. It's been a while since I've read the Guardians of Gahul. And I read this last night ebook style because I couldn't get a hold of it otherwise. So, he is, eventually there's basically healer person says, no, he needs to be, rather than being just completely outcasted, he needs to go to the leader of the clan, which he does. And the leader kind of, it's hinted that he's part of some sort of legend about who he is. And so basically what this wolf does is, one, to punish him, because he must have some sort of punishment, he has to go around and basically read the gnawed bone of this other gnar who dictates basically his shame. and he has to go to the other groups, the other packs within the clan, and basically listen to this read by them. But then this wolf calls for us that there's going to be another competition to choose some of the wolves, one or two wolves, to start to be guarding these volcanoes that guard what if you have watched the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, is their ember, which is their magical ember. So the wolves, until the next king of the owls comes to retrieve it. So, and that's a big competition of the Nars, where they're treated very well, but they have to do different things, and they have to present bones as well. So it's not just bones. I think they have to be part of a hunt and things. So he goes around and does this, and kind of in the process accepts this. Now, this other wolf who's been part of his clan is pissed off. He does not like Fallon. He thinks, particularly now that this competition is represented, he doesn't think Fallon he is arrogant enough to think that it's his right to go and be, basically, it changes their status. Rather than being the bottom of the pack, being picked on and being treated horribly, you get to be different status when you become one of these guardian wolves. And yes, they have to be kind of damaged wolves to do this. So the competition comes in, and this other wolf, when he has a specific nick in one of his teeth. This is important. And he clicks his teeth like he's gnawing and makes Fallon lose his concentration during the hunt. And so Fallon gets deducted. But of course, he doesn't really do much either. So they go through different things, and then it comes to this conclusion. This wolf keeps trying to mess up Fallon and can't quite do it. And he's still in the ranking. So he decides to try to he steals one of the story bones that Fallon is working on, and then tries to frame him for murder, because Fallon had been using the bones of both, I think, his past bear, his foster mother, or his milk mother, as he refers to her, and this baby wolf as gnawing bones. So where he's presenting his stories. And so what this other wolf tries to do is frame him for murder and have him torn up. Now, a lot of the other wolves don't like him. They're afraid of Fallon because he jumped through this fire, and it's freaked them out because he's different. And so they're pretty much terrified of him. Now, Fallon had already mentioned this to two other wolves that were a part of his pack that he kind of befriended. He's not outcasted completely. They're not taboo to talk to. They're still part of the pack. They're just at the bottom of it. And these are younger wolves. And these are younger females that he's befriended. And he invites them to one of the gnawing sessions because they're practicing. And the gnawers practice with each other. And because he wanted to point out, to listen to this, to explain what the heck happened and why on earth he messed up. And because I think they realize how good he is. And they hear, and they can see by looking at his bones, this nick. So they're trying to, basically, he's framing this wolf who's actually committed murder, is framing Fallon. They're ready to tear him to pieces. But not only did the owl come, it's like, I heard the murder, and I heard that sound. Because his teeth make a specific sound, because it's chipped. And then it's like, you can look closely. And the two other female wolves, it's like, we heard you. And we saw what you do. And that's the marks on this bones. And so basically he's exonerated, and of course his nemesis flees. He eventually finds him along with some other outcast wolves, and he lets them go. It's like, you know what, forget it. Go, you're banished, do not come back. So he's basically banished from the territory. Now, Fallon's mother actually shows up in this as well. So she's confessed to her mate what had happened, and the fact that she had given birth to a damaged pup. And he's like, okay, but we had multiple, we have like 3 perfectly healthy pups. So Fallon actually is able to kind of interact with his mother a little bit. But the end of the competition happens, and both Fallon and one of the other females is, at the end of this, they are now going to be the guardians, part of the guardians groups of these volcanoes. And that's how this story ends. So it's an interesting book. It's a continuation of this story. Now I'm coming from this having previously read The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, so I know essentially Fallon's fate at the end. I'm not going to reveal that till I present the last book. And if you read The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, you already know what really happens to Fallon in the end. But this is just book 2. It is a book, if you like The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, I like Kathryn Lasky's writing. It's very interesting. Again, this is for level-wise. It's definitely, or at least my opinion on maturity levels, just because there's a lot of death and hunting here. And so it's topic-wise and interest-wise. Definitely say late elementary and up, because again, I'm an adult and I enjoyed this. I'll be reading the rest of the book series, so definitely check it out. I will be finishing up the rest of these books this year, as well as the 3 books in the Polar Bears series that she has. And then I will eventually return to Kathryn Lasky maybe in 2025. She is not in my plans for series for next year. What I am going to be covering, and I mentioned this in my previous video, I have, through the miracles of Reddit, found the free copies of the ebooks of the Animorph series, which I believe there is 50. I'm going to try to at least skim through those and give some basic reviews on all of them, as well as the 3 graphic novels. So that's the way I'm going to probably do that, because I'm just working this out now. This is April of 2023. I'm probably going to do them in blocks, because again, there are 50. I'm not going to make 50 individual videos. It will drive me nuts, and I don't have time for that. I just don't. So I'll probably do them, and I don't think they're very long either. So I will probably do them in groups of 3 or 5 and do one video on that specific grouping and do that. And it will be overlapping with the other book series that I'm covering next year. I will be doing the graphic novels, I'll do individual videos, just because you have to talk about the art and stuff with those. And if they come out with more of the graphic novels, I'll probably cover those as well over time, if I remember. But I'm also going to be covering the Anne of Green Gables series, Boxcar Children, and The Wings of Fire. So those are the other series that are going to be coming up besides the Animorphs. And so the Animorphs are now going to be overlapping these things. I'm not going to do videos to media to comprehend all of these. Again, I still have to properly cut them up, metaphorically into group them up. So that's kind of what's going on book series wise next year. If you like my videos on the and you're new at this channel, on the owls so far, or on the wolves, check out my 15. I think it's 15. No, maybe it's 18. Check out my Guardians of Ga'Hoole series reviews as well. I've also covered the Princess Diaries this year. I've covered some more Tamora Pierce. So far on this channel, I've covered 4 of her quartets. So I've covered my first series. I've covered the Circle of Magic. I've covered the Circle Opens. I covered the Will of the Empress, which is kind of what she's calling the Circle Reforged. This year, I covered her first 2 series, which is the Song of the Lioness and the Immortals Quartet. I'll probably check into getting the series on Becca and Protector of the Small maybe in 2025, because I do own those. I have not covered Melting Stones or Battle Magic yet. I may throw those in there. I do own them. I do not have any interest in reviewing the Daughter of the Lioness, because I don't own them, and 2, I don't remember particularly liking them. And I don't know what's going on with the most recent quartet, because she's disappeared off the map last time I checked. So she has 1 book published of that series, and then she kind of disappeared from her blog. So moving on. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. Besides the book series, I cover Black History Month. I'm covering Titanic next month or next year. Irish History Month, which is what I covered in March before. Women's History Month, and a bunch of other stuff, including vaccines and LGBTQ stuff I'm covering next year. I'm doing Asian immigration, specifically focusing on Angel Island, and Ellis Island as well, the following. So those are 2 separate months. And then I'm covering Beauty and the Beast. I haven't previously covered Cinderella, so if you want to check out those videos. So, like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.